Okie dokie. Everybody's busy this Saturday because so far not too many uh, views are coming in for my videos on YouTube as would be normal for the low numbers of views. However, we're pressing on because I'm in a mood today. Today's topic is the case for Mormon fraud. I found out a lawyer who used to be a member and has left the church has written a book on the case for Mormon fraud. I just bought it, so it's going to be a while before I get it. But it's good to know that people are out there aware of the church's fraud. And for those of you Mormons, especially the one who likes to rush to give me a thumbs down, why don't you stop and listen before you rush to judgment? What? Yes, you're rushing to judgment by going to my site specifically to put a thumbs down and not even bother to listen to the video. All right, so what is the case for Mormon fraud? There's financial fraud that we could discuss, but we'll stick to one that's right in front of the faces of the Mormons themselves. At lds.org/topic/essays ? Language lang equals ENG. And if you speak a foreign language, they have it available in other languages too, but my audience is particularly English. It is the Gospel Topic Essays, the famous essays that all Mormons left the church over. And they have topics such as, are Mormons Christian? No. Becoming like God, Book of Mormon and DNA studies, Book of Mormon translation, First Vision accounts, Joseph Smith's teachings about priesthood, temple, and women, Mother in Heaven, peace and violence among 19th century Latter-day Saints, plural marriage in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, de Jesucristo de los últimos días de los santos de los whatever. I don't speak, I just repeat words that I hear. Race and the priesthood, translation and historicity of the Book of Abraham. And then a link back to Gospel Topics. So the hot button ones are pretty much all of them. For those who have actually done research into church's history, you will be aware of such things as Book of Mormon and DNA studies, Book of Mormon translation, First Vision accounts, teachings on the priesthood, temple, and women, the violence part of the 19th century Latter-day Saints, plural marriage, race and the priesthood, and the Book of Abraham. These are all the hot topics. And so, yeah, the church is trying to solve the problems of those who are being critical, those anti-Mormons. We need to silence them. So we're going to make these topic essays and silence them. And all it did was expose the church as frauds. And I've already done that with translation and historicity of the Book of Abraham because I'd been studying that. I already knew the answer that yes, Joseph Smith did translate the Book of Abraham correctly. And then the church did this unbeknownst to me, and when I find out about it, I'm going, oh man, dummies. They blew it. All they had to do was hold out just a little while longer until they learned about my research. And they blew it. And so now, if you go to that one, it's written by John Gee because it's his manner of speech. Linguistic forensic speaking. yeah, they denounce the Book of Abraham as an official translation. It's just spiritual inspiration. It's better than science. Oh, man. So, yeah, I've got 2 videos now on YouTube, and I've got lots of books published and blogs on my website. So I'm not going to go over that one. Race in the priesthood, yeah, the church now confesses, yeah, Brigham Young was a racist, but everybody was, and so it's no big deal. We're still the true church inspired by Jesus. No! If you read or watch my other videos that I did today, I discuss oh man, afternoon yawns. I go over Brigham Young taking the Book of Mormon and interpreting or following the bad examples from the book, because people read that now and they say, oh, Brigham or Joseph Smith was a racist for writing this book. God certainly would never have written this, and the ancient Indians would never have written such racist literature. But then that gets into the Book of Mormon translation topic. The Book of Mormon is not a translation, and I probably should go over that one. I mean, we've got a whole bunch. I could do tons of videos on these. Yeah, I've done the research as one who has made discoveries in both Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian linguistics, which is not really linguistics because that involves speech. It's more of pictorial discoveries of translation, written translation rather than spoken translation. And people always ask me that, when I tell them, oh yeah, I translate Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. Oh, can you speak it? No, it's dead. It's extinct. Don't ask me. Alright, so, yeah, Book of Mormon translation. It's plagiarism. It's not translation. It's plagiarism. And so, yeah, we can discuss that one as well. But the big one that most people are getting off on as critics of the church and being offended is that the church, in the plural marriage topic, they throw Joseph Smith, the founder, under the bus and into the meat grinder and feed him to the fish. And not cool, guys. Not cool church guys. Not critics guys. Critics guys are being fooled. And that's their complaint, is that they use this topic under plural marriage to say, great, the church is confessing that they've lied and deceived the members of the church up until 2013. And what they don't get is that they assume that the church in 2013 are now being honest. Once a liar, always a liar. Notice Trump. He goes from one lie, and when people call him on it, he goes to the next lie. He just goes back and forth. No, I had no collusion, no business interest with Russia. Well, there's nothing wrong with having business with Russia. Notice, Trump and Nelson are doing business with Russia. Do you not think that there's a connection? If Trump is getting busted for dealing with Russia, do you not think that the church should be busted for dealing with Russia? You do not do deals in Russia innocently. Russia bribes you, gets dirt on you, makes you corrupt before they'll do business with you. The reason why is so that they can control you. They demand tribute. They demand bribes. And they'll do whatever it takes to get control of you. And so, yes, they'll help pay for your campaign to become president and alter the voting booths so that you become president when clearly nobody in America wanted you to become president. That's how it's done. And now we have the email documentation between, was it Corsi? Or was it one of the other guys? I think it was Corsi, one of his emails with a Russian operative. We're going to get our guy into office. Yeah, busted. Trump is an illegitimate president, needs to be removed. But we're talking about the church and their corruption. Okay, so plural marriage. The church is now throwing Joseph Smith under the bus, even though the evidence points to Brigham Young as the one who started it. Brigham Young was the one who got up in General Conference here in Utah. It wasn't 47 because that's when they got to Utah. I believe he started it in 49. I'd have to recheck on that, but it was soon after. He gave the announcement, we will be practicing polygamy. And of course, what does one have to do to change doctrine? Well, you've seen it with Nelson. When Nelson took away the high priest office from all elders so that no elder can now obtain a high priest ranking, I think it was Oakes who gave the justification utilizing a scripture out of context of the whole scripture, because I've done videos and topics, I discussed it on that very day. The Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, Pearl of Great Price, all have passages saying that it's necessary to enter into the celestial kingdom, into the presence of God, as a high priest and high priestess. You can't do it as an elder. Melchizedek is not enough. You have to be the high priest. And that's part of the fraud that the Mormons are perpetuating upon the members. Brigham Young changed the doctrines, and plural marriage was one of them he changed. Because what does the Book of Mormon talk about plural marriage? Well, Jacob refers to the commandment of Lehi. Thou shalt have one man, one woman, or one man, one woman as spouse. No taking on concubines and other women as wives. And I believe a reference to King David and Solomon as being wicked is also in the Book of Mormon, in that Jacob passage. It's somewhere in the Book of Mormon, because King Noah also was wicked, and they explain his list of wickednesses, and one of those was he had wives and concubines. Polygamy. So the Book of Mormon is an anti-polygamy book. Critics and Mormons need to understand this. The Doctrine and Covenants has section 132, but in 1835, when Joseph changed the Book of Commandments into the Doctrine and Covenants, he added a marriage scripture, one man, one woman. But what about 132? That was put in after Joseph Smith died, after Brigham Young came to Utah, and I believe it's the one that happened a year before Brigham Young died. Because there were two sets that were put into the Doctrine and Covenants during Brigham Young's time. And different passages are attributed to each time period. And of course they blame Joseph Smith. But when you learn that the Book of Mormon is anti-polygamy, the original Doctrine and Covenants of 1835 was anti-polygamy, and then you have to do church history research because the church doesn't reveal everything. So that's the, where do they cover church history? They should have church history. They don't have church history. All right, so studying church history. Which church did the Smith family belong to when they were living in Vermont when Joseph was born in 1805, December 23rd? What? The church doesn't tell us? I'm shocked. I'm horrified. Not really. I was actually surprised to find out that it was the New Israelites. Oh, all right, whatever. You can't stop there. You have to keep researching. What were the doctrinal beliefs of the New Israelites? What did they practice? What did Joseph Smith Sr. do in that church? Did he make a name for himself there? Yes, he did. He was a master rodsman. Huh? Yeah. Remember in the Doctrine and Covenants where Oliver Cowdery has the gift and it refers to a rod of Aaron? It's been changed from its original wording, but where do you think Oliver Cowdery got it from? He got it from his father, I think it's William Cowdery. And guess where William Cowdery got it from? The New Israelites in Vermont. That's right, because the Cowderys and the Macks are cousins. They're all from the same area, Vermont. Wow. So Joseph Smith Sr. was a master rodsman. But that's not all the New Israelites believed in. The leader also believed in plural marriage, spiritual wifery, as he referred to it. And there is no evidence, however, that Joseph Smith Sr. practiced polygamy or spiritual wifery. And Joseph Smith, therefore, would have known about the New Israelites, even though I think they were disbanded before Joseph was born. But the concept of polygamy was well known in those early days. Just like Freemasonry, just like witchcraft, all of that stuff was well known to the people. Just like having TV today, we all know about the late night comedy hosts. We all know about the latest popular tweet by Trump, etc., etc. Or the latest movie that came out. Or the new fashion trend that everybody's going out to buy. Or the new toy for Christmas. You know, that it's more complex nowadays. Excuse me, but it's the same human behavior back then. They just didn't have as much to go by. And sorry, I'm also watching House as I'm doing this. And as a result, you know, people all knew of these different subject matters, polygamy, witchcraft, etc. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith would have known about witchcraft. I believe Lucy Mack's aunts three aunts were charged as being witches and were prosecuted as witnesses, as witches. And I believe her brother and Joseph Smith Sr. were involved in exposing them as witches. I have to again look that up. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, so I didn't have the information readily available for you. But there's witchcraft in the Smith family line. There's Freemasonry in the Smith family line, because Hiram on his birth certificate, his name was spelled according to the Freemasonic spelling of Hiram Abiff, and it was changed after the 1926 problem with anti-Freemasonic movement, and so it's spelled differently than Hiram Abiff now. So even though Smith is on record as finally joining a Freemasonic lodge when he moved to Palmyra, he obviously knew about Freemasonry and Jewish mysticism, because he had dreams of the Tree of Life, which is Jewish mysticism. And so yes, that's why the Book of Mormon contains a passage about the Tree of Life. In a dream, nonetheless, although they call it a vision. But in the beginning, Lehi has vision, which they also refer to as a dream. And so plural marriage was also well known and was practiced among these new Israelites, and so both the Cowdreys and the Smiths would have known about plural marriage. And yet, the Book of Mormon is anti-polygamy. The Doctrine and Covenants, anti-polygamy. Gonna have to turn this down. The little boy is going nuts. I'm a little jealous. So yeah, if you've watched the other videos, you know that I'm probably which episode in season 3 I'm on. Oh, TNA. Total new. I can't remember that. Must have changed the thing from WWF. All right. Anyway. So Joseph Smith was anti-plural marriage his whole life, even with a father who was involved in a church that had plural marriage, polygamy. And it would have just been easy for him if he was involved, had these other wives, and to take them with him to Palmyra. And when they decided to start up a new church, hey, why don't we have polygamy like the new Israelites did? But we won't go to the extreme and cause a panic in our society that would call the authorities the militia back then. They didn't have police. Police is an unconstitutional violation of our constitutional right for domestic security by a militia. That's another topic. And so they didn't. And oh, hold on a second. Okay. And then all of a sudden, in 1842, when Joseph Smith is involved in Freemasonry, after being pro-Freemasonry but anti-Freemasonry of a specific type. That's where the Gadianton robbers come in. But if you're not watching my videos, you're never going to understand. And if you're just coming onto my site just so that you can put a thumbs down, you're never going to catch on. You're going to remain in ignorance. But critics are claiming the church now says that Joseph Smith did polygamy, and the documentation all say that Joseph Smith did polygamy, and the people who hated Joseph Smith all say he did polygamy. When you're doing research, you don't just trust hearsay. That's not evidence. And the documentation is all hearsay. So you have to find evidence. What type of evidence can be found of Joseph Smith practicing or not practicing polygamy? Well, there's this thing that happens when a man and a woman have sex. It's called pregnancy. And there were a number of women who claimed to be Joseph Smith's plural wife, who claimed to have a child from him. It's the starstruck syndrome. A woman, wants to be associated with a celebrity, so they'll make a false accusation that somebody else knocked them up, and they want to have it attached to a better man than the guy who knocked them up. And if it can attach it to a celebrity, especially one who's dead, then you can be given lots of benefits and favors and compensation that is undeserved if you can fool people. And back in those days, they didn't have DNA rape kits to test to find out if a woman was raped or if a baby had a different father than the one the mother is claiming, or even the father thinks is the one. And so now we have, what is it, Maury Povich, or who's that other guy? They chant his name on his show, and he always does the DNA test to find out whose child the woman finally had this time. It's going to bug me now until I figure it out. I could probably Google it, but that would take too long. So anyway, we now can find out through DNA. DNA studies is the other topic, but it only refers to the Book of Mormon. And guess what? No, there's no DNA match to the particular group of Jews that the Mormons are claiming in the Book of Mormon. But there's other complications involved that nobody is caught on because they're not making the connections with all of the DNA research that's going on. If you believe that the Jews are Semitic and not Egyptian, then that's going to mess up your whole theory. But if you believe that, hey, wait a minute, the House of Israel might actually be Egyptian and not Semitic, we might have something here. And guess what? The DNA from China traces to Egyptian rather than Semitic. And even the Egyptian pharaohs trace to the land of Canaan. So read over your Book of Abraham, chapter 1, and pay attention to when they say that the pharaohs have the blood of the Canaanites. Joseph Smith didn't have DNA access. So the church had something with Joseph, and then they threw it all away with Brigham Young. But that's the whole point I'm making, is that critics are saying, oh, we trust the church now because the church is confessing that they've been lying and deceiving everybody. But come on, people, don't just believe hearsay. Do the evidence search. Joseph Smith had no DNA biological child other than through Emma. All the other DNA results are not positive. Is that the right word? Because sometimes positive means you have it. So anyway, but yeah, Joseph Smith has no literal offspring from other women than Emma. And that confirms his position as recorded in the Book of Mormon and Doctrine and Covenants before Section 132 was put in. Therefore, we can conclude that everyone was lying about being a wife of Joseph Smith during his lifetime, and lying about having a kid through him, and lying that Joseph Smith was the one who started it up. And so the evidence is clear. Brigham Young, in a conference in Utah, as the usurping president of the church, gave the announcement. That is the evidence. Brigham Young is the target of polygamy. You know, don't go to other sources just because the Brigham Young source says, no, not me, it's him. It's the Democrats. Even though it's a full Republican government, it's the Democrats' fault. So I hope you guys are catching on, and I'm going to just end it here with this. But yeah, race in the priesthood, Brigham Young's the racist. The church confesses on that. And that's obvious because it's in his writings for conference. He took the priesthood away in conference from the blacks. And he even made it a death penalty if a woman married a black man or a white man married a black woman. But it was mostly for women not to marry black men, because men can't have the priesthood. 1 second. Okay. So I thought I'd be back quicker, so I didn't think I needed to pause. And so the Book of Abraham, yeah, Joseph was right. The church is wrong. John Key is wrong. And Egyptologists are wrong. They're not translating fully. They're only going by the Rosetta Stone, which means that it's... The Rosetta Stone was, what, 200 BC? Or, I don't think it was 200 AD. I think it was BC. And, but anyway. So that's millennia after the Egyptian writing was developed. And look at how much English has changed since the founding of America, or even back in the days of its founding in England. And it even looked differently, with different letters. F's look like S's and all that weird stuff. So, yeah, don't get fooled because someone you trust tells you something. You got to actually verify their claims. If you go around telling other people that so-and-so said such, understand that that is hearsay. They didn't show you the evidence. You're just trusting them from what they're saying. And so critics, you're getting played also. There's more information than what the church thinks they're letting you believe that they're finally coming clean about. And so don't be fooled. The lawsuit against the church at ldsclassaction.weebly.com. Another man had .com. They haven't become a .com status yet. They're still Weebly format. And I'm familiar with that because not this year, changed over to a .com from my Weebly site. And so if you just do ldsclassaction.com, the computer will say, we can't find that. What are you talking about? So it's ldsclassaction.weebly, weebly.com. And sign the petition. You have a claim. And you can comment on their website page. They have a link that you have to copy and paste to go to the FBI thing that they talk about on their homepage, and become a part of the petition for the FBI thing, because the FBI are the ones that deal with fraud, and the FBI have constantly ignored my complaints to them about the church and their fraud, both financial and outright deceiving and lying to the members of the church. So yeah, this is a huge deal, and people need to understand that the church that we've grown up in, that we've been raised in, that we got fooled into be converted into because we didn't bother to do the research, and because the missionaries said the word Jesus, we all got played as fools. The Brighamite splinter group is pure evil, and everyone needs to run away from it. Save your family and friends who are still in it. Get them out. Get them out immediately. What Nelson has planned cannot be good. Hold on a minute. Gotta pause again. Okay. So, the first vision accounts. There's a picture online that's all on the internet that shows the various different vision accounts and who Joseph Smith claimed to have seen in each one of them. And he only started the first vision account after, hold on, okay. And yeah, I mean, are Mormons Christians? Yes, under the correct definition of Christian, but no in the currently accepted understanding of who a Christian is. And Mormons don't get that. They're clueless, and it's frustrating trying to talk to them about it and explain it to them. Constantine gathered the separate churches together in the Nicene Council, and he forced the Christian churches to become one, and Constantine took over the leadership of all of them because the Romans couldn't kill them off. So they took them over. And thus people were Christian. And the Mormons, they have their missionaries going out saying that the Catholic Church is the great and abominable church. Well, that was before the church banned all of McConkey's books. McConkey is the one who said the Catholic Church is the great and abominable. And yes, but the Book of Mormon is not really a historical document, which means that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that Brigham Young took over now becomes the great and abominable church as mentioned in the Book of Mormon. And Mormons don't get that. They don't see that. You know, they read about the apostasy that's described in the Book of Mormon, about the great and abominable church, but Mormons are clueless to make the association. You know, they see about Laman, who's a bad guy and beats up his brother Nephi, and they don't make the association with the trolls on my website. And well, not my website. Nobody comments on my website. The ldsclassaction.weebly.com has a comment page, or a contact page, and so maybe I'll do that on my website to make it easier. But it's going to be kind of difficult because I'm going to want people to talk about the particular article that they were discussing. So I don't know. We'll think about it. No, Mormons are not Christians as a break-off of Christianity. Mormons claim they're a restored church. That's why I have the other video about Nelson's tweet saying we are beginning the restoration of the church. Dummy. Okay, so Mormons are not Christian, but they are Christ's. And I've already talked about how Mormons are Christ's. But if you don't watch my videos, you're going to be clueless as to what I'm talking about here. Because Christ is translated into English as anointed. And Mormons, remember your temple rituals where you go in for your washings and what was it? What was that? What is that other booth that they go into after they are sprinkled with water for their washings? I think it starts with an A. Yeah, I'm just having fun. Anointings. Washing and anointings. Initiatories. When you get anointed, guess what? You're now a Christ. Oh, but there's only one Christ, and that's Jesus. Well, and who was King David? King David was anointed. Who was King Solomon? He was anointed. Guess what that makes them automatically? Christ. King David was Christ. King Solomon was Christ. All the kings of the house of Israel and of Judah were Christs. Pharaohs were Christs. Melchizedek was Christ. Noah was Christ. Yeah. So when you do temple work for the dead, guess what you're also called? A Savior on Mount Zion. Mormons are dumb. And it's because they twist definitions. They make new definitions of words that shouldn't be altered in definition. But in this case with Christian, the Christians already altered the definition, and then the Mormons altered the alteration. They didn't restore the original definition. So when you're becoming like God, it simply means the temple rituals, becoming a Christ, a Melchizedek, a king, and a high priest. High priest, not an elder. So, yeah, I'm already at 45 minutes, but wasn't this a fun one?